you. Okay.
Got us pinned. Still blows my mind that this is one of my colors. Still blows my mind. Would have never picked this tank top up.
I know I would have, and then it would have washed me out because it's not my palette.
Yeah.
All the earth tones.
I'm so excited that they're mine.
Yeah, that red shirt was adorable.
I know. Will I wear red every time I talk to Steve? Probably.
You know, red technically I think is in all the palette. Like,
yes, it's
true,
everybody's
true
color.
red. Yeah, everyone can wear, and then there's like different variations of red. I do have one red sweater, but that's it. I think I'm more of a blue.
I am gravitating to
burgundy.
Yeah.
Guess.
I'm gravitating to a lot of red now. Like, I realize I like the way I look in it. So we'll wait a couple minutes, guys. We sent out the email.
I just tagged everyone in the Facebook group. But as always, if you didn't make it here live, you'll get the replay. We'll post that.
Lots of changes. Lots of changes.
Okay.
I gotta do TikToks today, so Sneha will get off my ass because I haven't done them in a while. Got to do some today. My kiddos are off school. I'm sure everybody else's are, so that might be reason why some people aren't watching.
Kiddos, yeah, mine's downstairs, probably watching TV.
Are home. I don't know what Jared's gonna do with the boys today. Looks like it's not gonna be sunny, as they said. It's clouding up.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Happy Monday. Welcome to your Monday training. Yeah, this is one that we get a lot of requests about. Oh, Sneha, oh yes, you need to do a TikTok. A lot of people ask us about the training, and we've done a couple. So you guys are lucky, see, because when we a year ago, when we started the next chapter, usually the content was only available for like 30 days, and then we would remove it, right? So you would get like 30 days of the content each month, and then they would be wiped out, and then we'd put in new content. But now we just leave stuff in there so that you can watch as much of it as you want. So this will, I think, be the last time we have to do this training, because we've done it already several times, and then we ended up, wiping it out. But now we're keeping everything in there, so you guys can go back and rewatch and see it as many times as you need to.
Absolutely. So you guys, we're going to do, we call it thriving through transitions, or what did you call it? Chaos to calm.
Yes. From chaos to calm, strategies for thriving on transition days.
Right. And so the way I described it, I just did it on the live, is I think when we were children, we all had a parent that came home from work and maybe didn't transition well from work and would lash out at us as children, and punish us because they had a bad day at work or they weren't doing their best and dealing with having a rough day. And then they'd punish everybody at home. I know my dad was horrible. I kind of sugarcoated it a little bit on the show because I think my mom and dad watched the show, but my dad would come home and scream, holler, and throw shit a lot. And when he was really frustrated with his day at work, you could not approach him. You could not ask a question without getting your ass handed to you. And a lot of that is because he wasn't allowed to lash out at work, right? He wasn't allowed to tell his boss to fuck off at work. He wasn't allowed to be rude at work. And so he had to hold all that energy in until he came home. And then he would lash out at my mom and me and animals and everything, because he had all that pent up energy from work of keeping his mouth shut so he could keep his job. And then he'd overtake us and punish all of us. We were his punching bag. Your children are the same thing. They're going to this other home and they're dealing with all these things that they have no control over. It could be lack of love, lack of attention. They're getting talked bad about you, in that, you're a bad person. You're a bad mom. Your mom shouldn't do this. Your mom shouldn't do that. And they're hearing all of this, and it gets pent up in their little itty bitty bodies. Lack of, love the whole weekend, whatever it is. And they're coming home, and what are they doing to you? They're slamming that lunchbox down that my dad did and then lashing out. They're assholes. They overreact. They name call. They isolate. They pick on you. They say all this rude shit that you're like, where did this come from? What is going on? And you don't understand, because the kid that is at your house is a fun, loving, caring, non-dramatic, respectful child. But when they come back from this other house, it's unrecognizable. And you're like, what did I do to deserve this? And you take it personally. I know I did. And you guys can sit here and say you don't, but I know you do. You get offended when your kid comes home and treats you different. And you feel like, what did I do to you? What's going on? And I'm here to tell you, you can't take any of this personally. This is a child that is confused, is in the middle of a war zone in their mind of dealing with a house that is completely different than your house. Now, we're talking different things like maybe attitude is different. The way you talk to the child is at a loving tone. Sometimes you yell, but you always redirect and you get the kid back. Where the other house, maybe just a screaming house constantly. You're a house where there's a lot of questions and input and value to the child, where at the other house, it's a dictatorship. Get over here, sit down, do this and do this. Your child may be dealing with tons of other people at another house. They're overstimulated. They're having to be an extrovert the whole time. There's 50 people. There's 25 step siblings. There's a new stepmom. There's all these new people. Grandparents are involved. And it's nonstop interaction with people. Then they comes over to your house and all they want to do is be quiet. They just want to go in the room and shut the door because they've been overstimulated the whole weekend. So I need you to really think about when your kid comes home and reacts this way and is this way, it's not a you issue. It's your child dealing with whatever happened that weekend. Too much or too little, but it wasn't the right dosage. And your child is coming to you as the safe parent, as the safe home, and they're finally letting all of that out. So my therapist told me this: your kids yell at you and call you names and hit you and punch you because they can. You know why? Because you're still going to love them no matter what. They can't react that way at dad's house because dad will pout, disown them, yell at them, or isolate them. And so this isn't what you're doing. It's what your kid is going through at that other house. I need you to absorb that. First and foremost, don't take it personally. This is a kid that's struggling with how to get all of this energy out, negative or positive, how to get it out in a healthy way. And a lot of mistakes that we make is when they come home, we do what? Oh my gosh, kiddo, it's so good to see you. I miss you. I miss you. I miss you. What'd you do this weekend? What'd you do? Now I have pressure as a child to go, fuck, my mom missed me. I really don't want anything to do with this bitch because I've heard nonstop about how horrible she is all weekend. And she's asking me all these questions and I can't tell her what I did this weekend because all we did was sit around and bitch about her. And I can't tell her because then she's going to get sad if I say I had a good time with my stepmom and my half siblings. And so this kid is damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of setting. So what do? They isolate, they shut down, they overreact, they bite you, they kick you, they do all kinds of things because they don't want to talk to you. All right. So today we're going to go through some tips that I know could be beneficial to a lot of your homes. Take some, leave some, adjust some. I know some of you are dealing with teenagers that are outright assholes when they come home. And a lot of it is because they have participated in a negative conversation about you, and a lot of guilt comes up when they see your face for the first time. And for some of you, if you have an extreme case, as I did, my ex-husband would tell my kids, oh, your mom knows that you call her a bitch. Oh, your mom knows that we talk bad about her. I tell her. So my kids were walking in the door going, oh shit, how mad is she at me? And I had no idea. He was just telling them that. So then it would ruin our relationship and our interactions. All right. So let's go through some steps. Again, take some, leave some, age appropriate for your kid. But the first and foremost is you have to be on time. Kids need consistency. And for a lot of our kids dealing with a very toxic home, they need to know that your ass is going to be there for it to end. What is the pickup time? What is the drop off time? You better never have an excuse to be late because your kid is looking for a way out of this weekend. They want to come back to the safe home. So when you're all flexy with the schedule and you're like, oh yeah, keep the kiddo a few more hours. What your kid is doing is going, oh my God, she just set me up to have to listen to this shit for a few more hours. And now I'm mad at her because she was flexible with the schedule. Stop being flexible. But when you ask the kid, they might say, whatever you need, mom. Sure, I'll go. Sure, I'll stay longer. No, stick to your schedule. All right. Make sure that you follow your parenting plan. The other thing is making sure that the location of the routine. Where are you doing exchanges? And I'm going to tell you first and foremost, kids that see parents do face-to-face exchanges have more anxiety than kids that use school or extracurriculars or daycare to exchange. Now, some of you, that might mean that you're giving your ex an extra overnight. And let me explain. A lot of you want your kid home on a Sunday night. And I agree with that to a certain point. But I also want you to think about a kid that sees dad pull up to mom's house, mom come outside to receive the child. And now this child with severe anxiety is seeing the person that hates this person is now in front of both of me. And I'm freaking the fuck out because now we're doing an exchange at a home on a Sunday. Versus if that parent could just take that kid to school, your kid can transition through school and then comes back to you, and the parents never see each other. So you have to ask yourself, what is best? Is the face to face exchange good? Or is it harmful for my child? And we should use daycare, extracurriculars, or school as a possible way to do exchanges. The other thing that's critical on transitions, and this is more so when you're letting your kid go to the transition to the other parent's house, is please stop making this big theatrical goodbye to your child. We can't be hanging all over our kid, kissing all over our kid, professing our love, professing the misuse. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I miss you so much. Oh, I love you. I love you. I love you. And you're hugging and you're kissing all this in front of the other parent. Because what is that doing? That's showcasing a high conflict parent is seeing your child give you love. That is a trigger to dad. That is a trigger to him. He sees that child give you love and affection. That child will now be punished. That child will now hear all the way home about how much of a piece of shit you are. And how dare that child hug and kiss all of you? Aren't you too big to be hugging and kissing on your mom? When are you going to knock that shit off? You don't need to be kissing your mom like that. And now your child is made to feel guilty for showing you affection. So please think about doing a secret handshake. Go ahead.
I want to say too, I honestly, I think that it can make it harder for the kids to make it a big deal to say goodbye. Like especially
Yes.
with younger kids, like when my daughter was, 1, 2, 3 years old,
Yes.
her dad would always just make this big, long, drawn out goodbye and hugs, and I'm going to miss you. And oh my God, and like communicating how hard it was going to be for him to
For
not
him.
see her. And it's like, but now you're putting all that pressure on her and you're making her feel like this is a huge deal. This is a really sad thing. This is going to be really hard. And it's like, it's easy, even though, yeah, maybe that's what you're dealing with internally. It's a lot easier on the kids to just say, okay, okay, buddy, I'll see you later. I had a great time with you. Love you. Bye. Like, don't make it like it's a big deal. Don't project all of your own shit onto
Weakness.
your
Yeah.
kid during those times of like, I'm going to miss you. I'm going to be sad and all of that stuff. Help them feel like it's not a big deal. Like, this is what's happening and it's okay. And I know that obviously in high conflict situations, this is a little trickier, but I think from what we have control over, just be careful not to make it such a huge deal when you are saying goodbye, because it maybe can help them not feel like it's a huge deal.
Yeah, 100%. So what I like for you to do, especially if you're still in that huggy cuddly phase, is hug and cuddle 30 minutes before the kid even has to leave. You're leaving at 4 o'clock. At 3:30, you sit, you snuggle, you read a book, you kiss, you hug, you get that smell transfer to each other, you listen to each other's heartbeat, and then it's over. And then when it's time to go, it's more of like headed off to a dentist appointment, headed off to school. Like, let's go, get your stuff, get in the car, fist bump, see you later. And you don't have that pressure of that kid having to perform in front of that parent who, you guys, the weekend before, that parent was like, your mom's a piece of shit. Your mom's this, your mom's that. And that kid is like, dad hates mom. If I give mom a hug, dad's going to be triggered. I don't care what age your kid is. They pick up on that so super fast. Any of you dealing with that right now, where you know that if your kid is nice to you or shows affection to you, it triggers the other parent? Absolutely. So don't set your kid up for having to have that, God, mom, I love you, but seriously, this hug is just going to cause me 2 hours of dad ripping my ass about it. Please don't do this. So do all your hugs and kisses and have your fist bump, your secret handshake, your one finger salute, whatever you guys want to do to each other. I mean, you guys laugh, but that's what my daughter and we would flip each other off. Like, as she got older, it was just kind of like our thing. She would do it in the middle of a fucking volleyball game. She'd pull her shirt to the side and she'd flip me off. I'm like, the whole fucking crowd can see you. She didn't care. It was just our way to say I love you to each other. So have your own secret thing. All right. Before they leave, I want you to tell them what they're going to be doing. Show them on a calendar. Hey, it's 2 sleeps and you're back home. 2 sleeps and this, whatever it is. Hey, I know grandpa's in town this weekend. Ease their anxiety that they have school, they have grandparents coming in, they have sporting events. Hey, I know you're going to go sleep at dad's, but you're going to see me at soccer tomorrow. I will be there. I always sit in that one corner. Me and grandma will be over there. Feel free to wave at us. We'll catch you on Monday when we see you. All right. Show them what to expect. Maybe have a calendar where you color code it for your younger children and say only two nights of stars, and then you're back at mom's house. Ease them into this anxiety of transitioning too, which we could do a whole workshop if your child is struggling with going, but this is more when they're coming back. Okay. So I want to kind of just touch on that the most part. But don't do these big, huge goodbyes. You got to cut those out. Okay. Because I guarantee you 100% accuracy, your ex is making fun of you for these big, huge, over the top. I don't care if your kid's 2 and it is a kissy phase. Your ex is still making that child, oh, mom's going to kiss you 100 times. They're talking to these children as if they're adults. All right. So physically at the exchange, if your ex is coming to your home or to a car, stay in your car or house. There is no reason you need to walk your child all the way down. And I know you don't want somebody in your home. So you're walking them to do an exchange at a porch. Open your door, shoo your child out, and then shut the door. You do not need to stand there with your door open to secure. You can go run over to your side room and watch out that window through the peak of the curtain. You know you can do that. You do not need to be standing there observing, because if you're standing there observing the whole going to the car and getting in the car, it's an opportunity for your ex to say something to you. And I guarantee, again, your ex is saying something to your child. Does your mom not think I can get you to the car? Okay. Why is your mom staring at us? Why is your fat ass mom still standing there? Does she have a fucking life? Why is she? All you're doing is fueling a fire. Okay. So you stay in your car or you don't go out. All right. Public places. I know a lot of you love the idea of a police station. I am just 10 out of 10. I'm not a fan unless you have domestic violence and unless you know there's going to be police officers on staff and present, and you know that there are cameras that work. And a lot of police stations, they don't work. And a lot of police stations, there's not a lot of police presence. And again, I don't know what kind of, stigma you want your children to have around police, that everybody's bad and we're here because it's a bad situation. So if you can pick a public place that has a lot of people, like a Walmart or a Target, something where there's a lot of cameras, there's a lot of angles, and there's a lot of people that could record in 2.3 seconds. All right. So be thinking about, should we do this at the Uptown Circle? Should we? My ex-husband and I did a grocery store. We were a small town, but that grocery store always had people in the parking lot and always had great cameras. So be thinking of those type of environments. All right. Be early or on time. Again, this goes back to making my child feel comfortable. If you're a person that's always running late, you are adding to your child's anxiety. Now, if the other parent wants to be late, that's on them. But you are always early or always on time. I want you to think about music in the car. I want you to think about when your child gets back in your car. What's the song? What is your theme music for welcome home? What is that instant trigger in their head that they go, when they smell your car, when they hear that music, when they hear that sound, that they go, ah, I'm home. Okay. They just know. It's not 20 questions. It's not you grilling them the whole car ride home about how was dad's? What'd you do? Who was there? What'd they take you? No, let's listen to a song, kids. And you blast that shit. You have a routine. You have their favorite snack in the car. You've stopped and got their favorite drink in the car. Whatever that is, you make it a fun experience for your kid to get back in with you or to leave. Same thing, hype song for the way out. What's the hype song? My kids are into the Trolls song, the Justin Timberlake song right now, Better Place or something like that. That's our hype song every time we get in the car. On the way to school, they love to sing that song on the way to school. You need to have a hype song. All right. But I don't want you talking to your ex at exchanges. This causes your children. You heard my 2 kids say it. We did not want them speaking. We did not want them to be around each other. We did not want the pleasantries. We did not want the, hey, how's work? How's it going? How are the kids? Well, no, this gives your kids a over the top fear that this parent is going to act out and say something mean. And then your child is stuck in the middle about, who do they defend? Do they tell dad to shut the fuck up? Or do they tell mom, he didn't mean that? And your child is stuck in a place of misery and hell. So please just don't even bother. Just say, hey, that's okay. Whatever you need to tell me, put it in the app. Send me an email. Nope, don't have time to talk. You're always in a hurry, by the way, at exchanges. Oh, I got something on the stove. I got to go. I got to go inside. Oh, I got to get somewhere. I have a meeting. We have to get somewhere. We have somewhere to go. You're always in a hurry. Your kid loves that, because then now the exchange is not a very long process. All right. So just make sure, hand up if they start arguing with you and going back and forth. You're like, whoa, wait a second. Just put that in the app. Okay. I don't have time. We don't have time for dialogue. We're going to go. And you walk away. You don't ask for feedback. You don't ask for confirmation that that's okay. All right. To the kids, I want you to communicate open and honestly. A lot of you do this whole thing where the day before the exchange, you're like, hey, don't forget you're going to your dad's. Okay. Why'd you say that? A whole day you're triggering your child ahead of time. And for some of you, that might be, you think that you're easing your child into it. If your child doesn't want to go on a transition, your child doesn't want to go. You know, my kid doesn't like the dentist. So if I said, hey, we're going to the dentist tomorrow, my kid's anxiety started today because I mentioned the dentist. That's not till tomorrow. All right. So I want you to know your child best. And sometimes only an hour before is necessary. But a whole day before is a very small percentage of kids that want to know that much time in advance. Now, once they get to a calendar age where they can understand a calendar and read a calendar, great. They're going to be able to tell that shit themselves. All right. But you got to figure out how you're going to communicate that. I want your kids to have an open ability to communicate their fears or their feelings or even their excitement. And that's a hard one for a lot of us. What does your face say when your kid says, oh my gosh, I am so pumped to go to dad's house? Now, 2 weeks ago, when they came home from dad's house, it was misery, it was crying, it was attitude, it was, oh my God, dad's a fucktard. I don't like this place. This is horrible. His girlfriend's a bitch, blah, 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 blah. And they're bitching nonstop about dad. But 2 weeks later, now they're excited. And you're wanting to say, well, don't you remember? But you can't. We have to allow our child to get there on their own. So if they show excitement, we're there for it. We're neutral or nothing. All right. We're neutral. Like, I'm so happy for you. You sound pumped. I look forward to hearing about it. Now, you and I both know there's a good chance there's no follow through there, right? They promised the Golden Corral. They promised a story. They promised something. And there's a good chance it might not be there. But we can't let our kid in on that little secret, right? We have to let them kind of figure that out on their own. But we have to make sure we think about how excited we are. And we're not over dramatic. Are any of you the fake? Like, you're going to have a great time. It's going to be awesome. Oh my gosh, it's going to be so much fun. And you're hyping it up. I hope not. It's not our job to hype up a place we know nothing about, especially if your ex does not like you. You're hyping up somebody that doesn't like you. And your kid is confused by that. That was my kids. Mom, why do you talk so nicely about dad? He hates your guts. He doesn't say anything nice about you. Why are you talking so nice about him? He hates you. And hate is a powerful word. My kids rarely use it except for when they were talking about their dad with me. So please don't tell them that everything's going to be fine when you don't know that. We listen and we give any advice we can that's within reason for them to slowly come to that conclusion on their own. So for example, if your kid says, I'm so excited, dad's taking us to X, da, da, da. I'm happy for you. I can't wait to hear that about that when you come home. And by any chance that you don't get to go, maybe I can take you the next weekend. So if that disappointment sets in with dad, maybe they know that you can take him to go do something like that. Maybe you want to provide comfort items for your child. Maybe your child needs to take a toy or a blanket. I have a child, Brutus, who's 5, who can't leave the home without a toy in his hand. He has severe anxiety of just having an empty hands. So he always has a toy. It's his fidget thing. It could be any toy, but he has to have something, to where he had to take it to school. And it goes right in his book bag. But that transition from one house to the other, he had to have something. So maybe your children have that. Go to a thrift store, get a bunch of little shitty toys that you don't give a shit about losing, and help your kids transition. But for older kids, this is when they want to take that sweatshirt. They want to take that item from your house. And you're like, man, kid, I don't want you to take that. But if your kid needs that for that comfort of that transition, you might need it. All right. So be thinking about what you can allow them to take and not take. Use technology to stay connected during transitions. But I want you to be careful when the children are away and you text them and you call them. All you're doing each time in a severe high conflict case is triggering your ex to talk about you in a negative manner to your child. So if you're sending a simple, hope you have a great day, love you, and that ex sees that you message, can your mom just not leave you the fuck alone when you're here? Why does she feel like she's got to constantly talk to you? Why do you constantly have to be texting your mom? Why is she so fucking nosy? Now this kid has to pick at that moment. Do I defend her? Do I say nothing? Or do I jump on the bandwagon? And most of your kids in severe high conflict will do what? They'll say nothing, or they will jump on the bandwagon and say, I don't know why she texts me so much. You're right. She can't stop. She is annoying. Because why? Because that parent makes that child feel like the only way is to agree with them. You're neutral or nothing when comments are made, right? So your child feels the ability to show excitement or sadness or anger or joy about that. There's only one way that your ex allows your child to feel, which is negative about you. Think about that right now. If your child was to walk up to your ex and say, I love when mom does this. I love the way mom smells. I love when mom calls me. What kind of visceral reaction is your ex having right now with that statement? So your child, when you are talked about, either says nothing or jumps in the bandwagon too and participates in that negative shit because it's the safest thing for them to do. As my daughter said, it was easier to bitch about mom with dad than to be his target. Walker made himself a target because Walker did the third option. My mom's not a bitch. My mom's not a cunt. My mom's not the things you say. And what did he do? He kicked Walker out. He pushed Walker away. He treated Walker like shit because Walker was standing up for me. Joe stayed neutral or she jumped on the bandwagon because that was the safest thing to do because she did not want to have the target on her back. And this started at a super young age. Joe was 2 the first time she slapped me and called me a cunt to get a rise out of her dad in a parking lot. And I was mortified. Number 1, how did my daughter know this word? Number 2, she just hit me. She's never hit me before. And number 3, she's laughing because she saw the reaction on her dad's face, which was joy. She made her dad happy. And at 2, does she understand what the hell she just did? Absolutely not. She was a robot at that point. Did I take it personally? 100%. 100%. And then was mad at my kid. Had no idea the connection of what was happening. So be mindful of that. All right. But technology, use sparingly. Use sparingly, and you let your kid know, hey, I may text you when I have a moment. Text me back when you have a moment. And if you don't, kiddo, I get it. I get it. And that's really all you need to say. I get that you can't text me back. I get that you can't call me back. I understand it. I don't like it, but I understand it. You're not in the same boat when you're here and I let you freely text and call however you want. I get that you're not in the same kind of boat at dad's house. I get it. And you could not like it and I could not like it. But again, maybe you're to the point where your child is of age that you can go over the 3 choices. Look, you can say, hey, no, I'm calling mom. Or you can say, okay, yeah, I don't need to call her back. Or you can say, yeah, it's stupid that she calls me. You have 3 choices, kiddo. You can do something about it. You can just stay neutral and just agree. Sounds great. And still not like it. Or you can jump on the bandwagon and say you absolutely hate it. And you think I'm stupid. So talk with your child age appropriately about what they think. But please, these phone calls, you guys, if you are on the phone with your children and you're FaceTiming and you're saying, oh, let me see that. Where'd you go today? What'd you do? You think you're asking about your child's day. And you're interested. You want to know how was school? How was daycare? How was your bus ride? How was lunch? You're asking these questions. What your ex, who is mentally unstable, is hearing is your mom is being fucking nosy and she's wanting to know what I'm doing. They will make it about them in 3 seconds. So you keep it light. You keep it small. You keep it just about the child. Hey, kiddo, tell me something you ate at lunch today. What was the favorite thing that school offered today? Keep it down to 1 or 2 questions and get off the phone if you are still doing phone calls. But I'm telling you, if your child is upset on the phone call and saying things, and this is younger children, I miss you, mom. I can't wait to see you. I want to be around you. I love you. I can't, when are you picking me up? Think about when that phone is hung up. How does your ex handle that? Is there comfort? Is there yelling? Is there, why are you fucking crying about your mom? You see her all the time. Grow the fuck up. You're going to see her tomorrow morning. Why are you so upset? There's no comfort to your child. This is why I say bedtime phone calls are the worst fucking idea in the world. Because you don't know when you hang up how your ex is treating your child right before they dream. Right before they are supposed to nestle in and get quality sleep. Your child is now cortisol levels high. They're missing you. And now they got scolded about missing you. Make that make sense to a child. They don't understand. Why do you hate me so much that you're yelling at me about loving someone? Right? So we have to be very mindful of those phone calls. All right. So how can you support your kids a little bit? Distractions. Help them color. Help them do things when they're struggling with those transitions. Maybe you're doing things with music. I think music is a very big healer that a lot of people underestimate. So whether your kids are coming back to you or leaving, use a lot of like transitional things where you're not involved. right? We're doing that hug 30 minutes before because the last 30 minutes, I want them to be kind of on their own, not being touched by me, not being engaging with me. They're coloring on their own. They're looking at something on their own to where it's a smoother transition over. When they come back, the same thing needs to be true, right? They need to be able to come back and go straight to the room, come back and do something that's not you. They need to get used to their environment before you are touching and hanging. So you might not get a hug the second they walk in the door. And that's okay. Because first off, can their parents still see them at this exchange? Are they still sitting in their car watching this child walk up and you greeted them at the door and they hugged? This kid is like, oh my God, don't fucking touch me. He's still here. Don't touch me. Don't let them see that we have affection for each other. And I know this may sound really extreme for some of your cases, but it's not. Some of you have blinders on about how extreme your case is. That affection your child shows could be triggering for the next visit or the next phone call. All right. So maybe we just need to let that child walk in, comfort of their own home, smell the home, hear the home. There's that same song is playing when they come in the door. They get 30 minutes to go to their room and be on their iPad. They get to go take a shower. They get to have their favorite snack. They get to play a game. They get to do something that makes them realize in their brain that they're home. And it's not you playing 50 fucking questions. It's you saying, hey, kiddo, do what you got to do. You know, your room's all picked up. Your room's ready to go. Your favorite snack's in there. If you want to take a shower, what is their love language? You're feeding that right now as they come home and they walk in the door. Maybe it is physical contact, but you wait till that door is shut and it's a hug without words. If it's words of affirmation, you're just saying, I'm so glad you're home. I can't wait to see what you want to do this weekend. Can't wait to see how this week goes. And you're letting that kid know that we got forever. We got the rest of the day. We need to stop planning shit, by the way, on transition day. So many of you are like, as soon as your child comes home, you're like, get your shoes on. We got to go to grandma's. We got to go to grandma's. Let's go, let's go, let's go. And you probably noticed that at the drop off, that dad's halfway out the door getting ready to take your child somewhere. And you're like, dude, they didn't get to go in and smell the house. They didn't transition. Right. And your kid is having to flip that switch from mom to dad real fast. And now we're on to grandma. And now we're on to new girlfriend. And now we're on to, and your child can't go through all those transitions that fast. So really think about how can you give comfort to your child when they walk in the door. All right. And it might be to lash out. It might be to journal. I know, Leah, do you want to talk about that home to home book?
Yeah. Home Sweet Homes. If you guys are on TikTok, I think it's actually on sale. It's usually, I believe, $45, and I think it's like under $30 right now. But it's a journal that's meant for co-parenting. So your kids, now, if you're in a super high conflict, then you probably don't want them to take it with them to their other parent's house, because their other parent will probably go through it and use it against you or throw it in the garbage or whatever. But it doesn't have to go to the other parent's house, but it actually helps them specifically for transition days. It helps them cultivate self-awareness and express their feelings, understand their feelings. There's little journal things. There's ways that they can customize it and make it their own. It's marketed for kids from 4 to 11. My 13-year-old actually likes it.
Yeah.
She's using it just because she likes to journal anyway. And so she was actually finding it helpful. And there's a lot that she liked about it. So if you go to my TikTok page at Mindfully Ready or Coach Leah Marie, you can click on the link and learn more about it. We actually met with the creator, and she's a mom who's divorced, and she actually made it for her son, and he loved it so much that she ended up making a business out of it and now sells like lots of them. So,
Yeah.
and there are a couple, I know Sneha has one for her kids. There's a couple people in here that I know got one already. But if that's something you think would be helpful, it's cheaper if you get it off the TikTok shop thingy than if you go to the website. So just try my TikTok first, because I think it is on sale. Home Sweet Homes Co-Parenting Journal.
Right. So we're going to go through just real quick how to help your kids with that jet lag when they come up. And then Leah's going to talk about you and how these transition days might be hurting you and what you can do for yourself. Okay. So we only have a few more minutes left. So as your kids are coming home again, I want you to expect the behavior. It's on your bingo card. You know it. You're scheduling time for them to transition. You got 2 hours scheduled before you do have to go to grandma's house. You're allowing them time to come home, put the lunchbox down however they want to, be who they want to be when they walk in the door. They could be angry with you. They could be frustrated with you. They could be missing you. Whatever it is, I want you to expect it and not take it personal. The other thing, like I said, have their love language ready to go. They have been on E the whole weekend. They have not been serviced. They are not receiving their quality love language. Your ex is treating them like a robot and telling them to do this, come over here, smile, take this picture, say this. Your child has not received any love language the whole time. So make sure you're putting that in after you're going to know, when are they ready to receive it? That hug might not come when they walk in the door. That hug might come 2 hours later when they finally like take a shower, wash away the weekend, and they smell you for the first time. Then they might hold on to you and never be the first one to let go. They say 6 seconds at least. You should be holding on to your children for that to really sink in. Okay. So hit that love language. Show them what you did while you were gone. And Leah's going to talk about this a little bit as she gets going, but it shouldn't just be, what did you do, kid? What did you do? What did you do? It should be, without asking your first question, you're telling them what you did first. Brag about yourself that you got your shit together. And this is how I cope with you being gone. I keep myself busy. And here's all this. Look at the fucking house. And you start showing, look at this house. Look, I trimmed that tree out back. I did the yard. Like, you're showing them that you weren't in the fetal position the whole fucking weekend. All right.
And I will say it's important to know your kid though, because I learned this from Sam. Like my kid doesn't like change. And so what I used to do is like, she would come home from being at her dad's and like the whole fucking like living room was reorganized and we got like new shit in the kitchen. And like, I changed her room around and she was like, what? Like, she did not like that. She did not like coming home to like, oh, I rearranged everything and redecorated and got new. So make sure you know your kid, but there's a bunch of other stuff you could do when they're gone.
Yeah, absolutely. So you got that nailed down. Your patience, you're not taking anything personal whatsoever. Again, familiar things. Like, I want you, if you take away anything from this training, what is your new like transition mode? Like, familiar things. What's a smell that you can have going, a candle that they love, a food that they love? What are sounds that are playing? Do you have a noise machine going? I have one constantly in our house. We have fans going. There's always white noise. And when they're all off, it's like deafening, There's always music at our house. Where Alexa, put this on. Alexa, put this on. In the car, music, golf cart, music. Music is our family's way of bonding. We each get our day that we get to pick the music. So what is yours? What's that song that they come home to? All right. Things that they've missed. The other house. Does the other house have their favorite yogurt? Does the other house let them drink that pop? Does the other house, like, think of the thing that they haven't had all weekend that they get to come home and go, oh, I haven't had a Diet Coke, the whole weekend. Like, they want their thing. That would be what I would look forward to. All right. Let them have the 30 minutes of iPad time. I don't care. Maybe even if you're like, but Sam, all they get is the iPad over there. The iPad babysits them. Maybe they don't have the same game. Maybe that is the transition that your child needs, is because it's what they're used to over there. Now they need it over here. Set a timer for 30 minutes, 20 minutes. Okay. And you're getting dinner ready or whatever it is. Let them be silent. Don't take it personal if your kid doesn't want to share. It might not be, my kids didn't share for 2 days. They would come home on Sunday nights, and it wasn't until Tuesday, if not Wednesday, before they'd ever go, oh yeah, this weekend. Like, what the hell triggered that? Their cortisol level came down and their safety like went up, and they realized that they're safe and they can share. It took them a couple days to figure that out. It took their bodies a couple days to figure that out. All right. So questions we don't ask. We say, is there anything from the weekend you want to share? Because I am dying to tell you something. And you tell yours. And let that be okay. Let that be that you just share without anything. But talk to them not about, if you do ask questions, because you just can't help yourself. You don't ask questions about that parent. You ask about their experience. You can ask about their sleep. You can ask about their food. You can ask them what something funny they saw. Anything that is the senses, what's something you smelled, what's something you tasted, what's something you saw, what's something you heard. You're not asking anything about your ex. So you're not being nosy about your ex. You're literally asking about your child's experience on the weekend. All right. So Leah's going to dive into some, what the hell are you doing while they're gone kind of thing.
Right. Because a lot of times it's us struggling with transition days too. It's not just our kids. It's hard for us to be away from our kids and not know if you can't talk to them and not really know what's going on and just not know what to do with yourself. Right.
Right.
So first and foremost, make sure that you're being proactive about it. Plan ahead. Do not wait until your kids are gone to then kind of like sit there and go, now what the fuck am I supposed to do with myself? What am I going to like do all weekend while they're gone? It's going to be 3 days. I don't know. Like, don't do that to yourself. Plan ahead, right? That's the time to make plans with friends or do things around the house, like the housework or the things that in the yard that need to be done, like have a to-do list. If you know you really need to purge your closet, that's a great time to do it. Wait till your kids are gone, that kind of thing. So I'm just going to like run through some stuff that you guys can do when they're gone. And remember, this is also the time that you're focusing on you and your healing and your growth and learning, figuring out who are you? What's your identity outside of just being a mom? You're not just a mom. That's just one thing, right? You are multifaceted. So when they're gone, this is the time to really take advantage of it. Start using that time to your advantage. What do your kids know about you besides being their mom? Like who else are you? This is the
Right.
time to figure it out is when they're gone. So hobbies and creative outlets are one of the best things that you can do. It not only does that help pass the time, it helps you feel more fulfilled. It helps you build your confidence and your self-esteem. It's something that is fun and you get to look forward to. And it also creates opportunities for you to meet like-minded people, right? Like you, in this
Mhm.
new phase of your life, you're going to be making new relationships too. And through hobbies and creative outlets, that's how you can do that. Like I posted a song, me singing like last weekend, right? After my divorce, that's what I was doing. Like I was really pursuing just like getting involved with bands and musicians. And because it was something that I just had fun doing. I enjoyed it. It was something that I look forward to. It was building my confidence. And I made a lot of new relationships doing that. So looking into whatever that is that you like to do, maybe it's photography. Maybe you want to take a dance class. Maybe you want to take some online courses to like get some kind of certification. Maybe you want to start a business, whatever it is you want to do. That's a perfect time to do it is when your kids are gone.
Right. Mhm.
Also, like I said, housework, right? Because a lot of times as a single mom, we feel like we've got a million balls in the air and we don't have enough time right in the day, right? Like there's not enough time to get everything done.
Right.
So don't stress so much about getting everything done, during the week. If you know your kids are going to be gone on the weekend, save some of that shit, whether it's just the stuff with the
Right.
yard or groceries or cleaning or project or organizing, anything like that. If you know that your kids are going to be away, that's the perfect time to save that stuff and do that when they're gone. Exercise. This is going to help your mental health. This is going to improve your self-esteem. This is going to help you get good sleep. It's going to pass the time. It is a really healthy outlet. And so it's something that like if maybe you want to take a yoga class or maybe you want to go do pole dancing, like that's a great thing. I mean, whatever floats your boat.
Right.
But do physical activities and using that time to engage in some kind of exercise is really, really helpful. Also, if you can do it in nature, that's great too. Maybe you just want to go for a walk or go for a hike or a bike ride or something like that. Save that for the time that your kids are gone. Not saying that you
Yeah.
shouldn't be doing it the rest of the week, but I'm just trying to load your plate with all kinds of
Right.
ideas that you can do when your kids are gone. Um, Personal development. This is where I went fucking hard. Okay. When my kid was gone, I was doing all the things like the podcasts and the books, and I was watching YouTube videos and learning about meditation and mindfulness. And like, that's when I went hard on my personal development journey and really used that time to just cultivate self awareness and like
Yeah.
reflect on what was my role in this relationship? What boundaries was I not setting? What red flags did I miss or ignore? Like, how do I make better
Yeah.
choices in the future to get me better results? That's the perfect time to focus on yourself and really dive deep into that personal development. Also connecting with friends. This is a new era for you. So you might have even lost some friends in the divorce, which is fine. Let them go, right? Like onwards and
Yeah.
upwards. But this is about like meeting new people, making new connections.
Right.
This is about what's the word I'm thinking of? Like what you want to cultivate and strengthen relationships that maybe you have, but they kind of like they weren't as strong over the years. Maybe
Right.
you guys got busy and you were married and you had kids, you had shit to do. So like go back and nurture those relationships that are
Mhm.
important to you, but that maybe you kind of lost connection or you
Or
didn't spend enough time with them.
you ruined them through the divorce because you overused that person as your therapist.
True.
You called your best friend too much and you're like, you wouldn't believe the shit he's fucking doing today. You know what he did told his lawyer, you know what this happened. And you're bitching to that
Yeah.
friend all about your divorce. And you're like, shit, when's the last time I asked her about her
Like, how are
life?
you doing? What's
Yeah.
going on in your life?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you might want to go back and work on those relationships or even
Yes.
just your family. I know for me, once I did open up those can of worms to my mom and dad, then I felt like they took on my divorce and it was so stressful for them. Like rebuilding that relationship of just being like, how's your job? How's your week? How's your thing? Like, I rarely ask my mom that. I call and dump, and I'm rarely like, so what's up with you? Like, it's always because I'm calling to tell her something that's shit in my life, right? Because I think that's her job, is to absorb all of that, even
Mhm.
at 45 years old. So work on those relationships of like, how can I give back to one of those people during this downtime where there's not much going on for me?
Yeah.
Because again, it is like you're going to need those people again because hell's going to break loose again. It's just, can you work on building that relationship back up for the positive and thanking those people and making it, more about them? So
Yeah.
rekindle those relationships.
Yeah,
Huge.
friends and family.
Yeah.
And then also a support group. Like I'm so glad that you guys are in here. There's also
Yeah.
free ones online. There's ones where it's like local, so you can find support groups and actually connect with people who live near you. Maybe meet up for like going for a hike or going to get a coffee.
Yeah.
But just knowing that like you have people in your life, like I spent a lot of my life when I was in a relationship. That was like my whole life was the relationship. I didn't really have much of a life outside of a relationship, which is really unhealthy. So then when I broke up, I felt even more alone and even more lost because then I didn't have anybody because I didn't talk to anybody because I was just so consumed with who I was in love with
Right.
at the time. Right. So this is a really important time to make sure that you're cultivating lots of different relationships
Yeah.
and getting yourself used to knowing how to be independent and having relationships outside of romantic relationships so that when you do get into another one, if you want one, romantic partner, you don't get so consumed with it because you have a more balanced life and other relationships and connections. And then volunteering is another really great thing. I did this. After my divorce, a couple of girlfriends and I went downtown to a local food shelter. And I remember it really was a life-changing like moment for me. I never done anything like that before. I had volunteered like
Mhm.
a little bit for things, but nothing like that. It was in the middle of winter and I went down, it was a kitchen and we watched, there was just like this huge line of people standing outside in the fucking freezing cold, waiting for their one warm meal that they were going to get that day that probably tasted like trash, right? But they were
Right.
so grateful to get like a cooked meal and a warm place to sit for 60 minutes before they had to go back
Right.
outside and sleep in the snow. And it totally changed my perspective. Not only does it just make you feel good that you're
Yeah.
helping those less fortunate, but it changes you. I was so grateful for everything that I had. I mean, I went home that night. I was like, I'm so grateful for my bed. I'm so grateful for the heat that I have in my house. I'm so grateful I have my own bathroom. I'm so grateful that I have fucking electricity. I'm so grateful that I have like food in my refrigerator. Like there's so much around you that you can be grateful for that we take for granted, right? And especially when you're going through something that's so hard, like a divorce or co-parenting with somebody that makes things really difficult, we lose sight of that. We forget. But you know what? Yes, there may be a shit storm here that I'm a part of, but I still have so much stuff that that makes my life better and makes my life
Right.
easier. And if I didn't have these things, things would be a lot worse. And so volunteering is really a great way to just kind of like gain perspective, but also it makes you feel good because you're helping somebody else, right? So I highly recommend doing that. And that can be anywhere, a shelter downtown or like a church, or there's lots of different
Mhm.
places that you could, an animal shelter. It doesn't even have to be people. I mean, whatever you like to do, but volunteering is a great way to invest your time when your kids are gone. And you can even bring your kids when your kids are with you because that's a great lesson for them. Okay. Spending time alone. Now, I got really, really good at this. I actually really love alone time and and I know this might sound weird, but I can just sit in a room and not have no music, no TV. I could just like sit there and just be with my thoughts. Okay. I got real
Hogwash.
good.
Hogwash. Can't do it.
Like, but
Can't do it. I have anxiety just thinking about it.
so, and some of you may struggle with this, but you really need to learn how to enjoy your own company and not feel like you have to constantly be busy or distracting yourself because believe it or not, that's actually a trauma response. So
Yep.
you want to try to find ways to just get comfortable being with your own thoughts. And that takes time and that takes patience. A great way to work your way up to that is journaling or going for a walk, but like trying to go on like a mindfulness walk. So you're not listening to music or anything, but you're actually in your physical body in the present moment, just paying attention to the sensations. What are you smelling? What are you hearing? What are you seeing? What are you feeling? Like you're feeling the ground beneath your feet. Those kind of senses that helps keep you in the moment. Doing simple things like that helps
Yeah.
train you to be able to just be with yourself. And that is so fucking powerful. When you can just enjoy your own company, that is elite. Okay. So
Right.
practice doing that when your kids are gone. Lean into the silence, lean into the emptiness, and figure out how to get comfortable there. And then
Me
practicing
and the
self
voices will
care.
be hanging out. That's what I feel like me and my voices would be hanging out all weekend by ourselves for
Yeah. And that's
sure.
fine. I mean, you know what? And like, with your own thoughts, like make sure it's a healthy, supportive environment up here,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like make sure you're not there's just an inner critic that's just in your brain all day, every day. You want to learn how to kind of like ignore her and listen
Yeah.
to the cheerleader instead,
Yeah.
right?
I want to know how many people had a childhood where you were left a chore list that had to be done by the time your parent got home. I think that's where my like I'm deep diving into this right now with like some TikToks and stuff, and I'm figuring out that that's my sense of always needing to do something is that I would spend the day kind of doing what I wanted in the summer, but my mom was like, "These fucking 5 chores better be done by the time I hit the door." Well, I'd wait 15 minutes prior to her getting home and like try to get them all done really, and they would be done, but I'd be like, "Oh my god, how stressful!" And I got addicted to
Mhm.
that adrenaline rush of like getting it done at the
Right.
last minute, and I think that's my sense of I would do me, but I would always have to do her too and do what she expected. And I think that's where that trauma is from is that you've always had to do things for other people your whole childhood. And so I was trained to always do a to-do list, a chore list for other people. And so it's my
Right.
mom's fault. That's what I hear in that whole story. It's my mom's fault.
Yeah, and it's like you've trained yourself to like, and I think some of that was your dad too. I mean, like we
Oh
talked
yeah.
about that,
Yeah.
like you trained yourself like if you're not like you don't have a sense of
I don't
accomplishment,
have
right?
value
Unless you're
unless
being
I'm doing
productive.
something for somebody else or my house or something like, yeah, to have value of to just be with myself. You guys,
Yes.
I'm 45 and still trying to figure that out. Like to be alone and be content with that. I can be alone. I could be single tomorrow and be
Mhm.
fine. But to be
Mhm.
alone in my own thoughts, that's a scary fucking thought for me. Like
Yeah. It
that's
takes
we'll
practice.
work on it together. We'll work on it
Yes.
together.
You work your way up to it.
Yeah.
But it is really, really powerful. It really
Hmm.
is. And then practice self-care, and this could be the simple stuff you think of when we think of self-care Sundays, right? Where you're just doing the skincare, you're taking a bubble bath, all that stuff's really important, like pampering
Right.
yourself. But it's like do all the things that you want and need to do for your mind, your body, and your soul. And journaling is a great form of self-care as well. That's helping you process your emotions, that's helping you track your progress, that's helping you kind of just make sense of things because when things are swirling around in your brain, sometimes it could be a little more manic up there, but when you get it out on paper and onto the black and white, you see it more objectively and you can make
Yeah.
sense of things and kind of piece things together. Um so journaling is a really great thing to do too, but self-care is a great thing to be doing when your kids are gone, especially if you struggle with them being away. Like you personally have a hard time when your kids aren't close to you and they're not at home. That's when you really want to start pouring in and figuring out what are my needs? How do I meet
Right.
my own needs? How do I learn how to give myself the things that I need on a consistent basis? That's a form of self-love. That's going to build your self-confidence, right? And all of these little things add up to huge changes. These little bitty things that you can start implementing
Yeah.
into your life. These are the things that change who you are and change the results you're getting in your life.
Yeah. So I think you guys, when it comes to transitions, I think the big takeaways are first off, stop and think about what's happening at the other house for your children. I know you're not liking the result you're getting when the child comes home, but you have to be honest with what is your kid going through before they come to you? Because you haven't done anything, you haven't seen them. Why are you getting mistreated? It's nothing you have done. It's what the other house is putting in their head and what the other house is doing to them and what the other house is making them feel and act like it's not anything you have done. You cannot take this personally. You have to really hit pause and go, damn, I maybe need to wake up to the reality of what my kids are truly going through with this person who's never dealt with their own shit, who's never dealt with their family dynamic, who's never got any powerful parenting tools put on their belt, this person who never knew how to parent when I was around either. So why am I expecting them to know how to parent without me? Like, you have to own and face radical acceptance of what your kid is going through before they come back to you. Don't take anything personal. Feed that love language and start having, I saw a lot of comments in here about these new routines that you guys have. Flourish with those. Take some of those. Those were great. You know, one person was building a tent and has it all set up with snacks and drinks in their iPad. They come in, they go straight to the tent. Those kids, that is going to be a core memory for those children, that when they come home, they're always going to say, Mom always has our tents ready. Mom has our sanctuary. Our safe place is ready to go. She understands we're not going to be there and talking to her. We're going straight to our tents. And that's where we're going to transition. Kids don't know they're transitioning, by the way, right? You can't be like, hey, you need to transition faster. They have no idea what the fuck you're talking about. But when you describe, hey, when you come from school, we have that flex time before dinner where we kind of like just mess around and we kind of like get used to not being at school and we're home. It's the same thing. So you describe it in a way that you say, when you go from dad's house to mom's house, we're going to have a buffer time where you get to transition from his house to my house. And it's going to be in these tents. It's going to be listening to a song. It's going to be eating this food. I'd watch for emotional attachment to food with that. But you just got to have to find your thing of allowing these kids to self-express. I will leave you with this. My children were physically aggressive. So Josie had a punching bag. She put on headphones and listened to music, which I'm going to play this song whenever it's over. Walker wanted to throw things and beat things up. When people would put stuff out at the end of their driveways to sell or to get rid of, they were hoping their neighbors took, I would go get it. I would put it in my house. I'd put a tarp up in my garage. I would set it there, give him some safety glasses and a fucking hammer. He beat the shit out of more TVs, electronics, old desks, old chairs. I'd let him spray paint them. I'd let him drive nails into them. I'd let him hit things.
And that's a great thing that you guys can do too.
Yes.
By the way, if you're struggling, if you have that angry energy, that resentment that you need to get out, smash some shit, right?
Yes.
Like lift heavy things or like go to one of those rage rooms where you can like rent it out and like just smash shit with baseball bats.
Absolutely. So, I mean, my kids wanted physical aggression. You know, we'd have Nerf gun fights when they'd come home with music playing in the background, you know, and then the next song was not as aggressive. And the third song was a calming song. Like, you have to start getting that. It's just pent up energy inside of your children. Toxic energy. How are you going to get it out of your child? Again, some kids will journal. Some kids will want to like hit things. You got to give them a safe place to transition and get all of that out of their system. So this is the song that Josie is obsessed with. And then we got to go. Hold on. We got to listen to a fucking ad first because I don't pay for the TikTok to be, you know, what it's supposed to be. But you got to have some type of, and now most of you are going to be mortified at this song, but it's just what she loves.
So it like pumps her up. Yeah. It's just like her.
I mean, it's horrible,
but she likes it. Yeah.
This song, I'll turn off. This song has the F word in it no less than 150 times. But she knows every word.
Listen, my 13-year-old was listening to Bitch Better Have My Money yesterday by Rihanna. Right. So no judgment.
It's just like, it was this energy that this song gave her. When she would come home, she would listen to it over and over and over again so that she could transition all of the frustration through singing the song.
Yeah.
And it was just her way to release. And now she listens to it before sporting events. She listens to it when she needs to get hyped up. Like, it's her hype song. Mm-hmm. And so I just text her. I said, hey, what's the name of your song? Cause I wanted to find it real fast. And she's like, Big Sean, Mom, duh. Cause I suck at knowing those things. But you guys, meet your kids where they're at. Mm-hmm. Don't be putting them on this, like, you need to be able to go to grandma's in 30 minutes. Your kid might not be able to go anywhere for a day. This does get better as they get older and they have better coping skills and you've taught them those coping skills. The other house is teaching 0 coping skills. 0. The other house is not talking about you in a positive way. 0 chance that's happening. So don't even ask those questions that make your kid have to lie to you. Okay. Did dad talk about me? Your kid's going to say, no, they didn't. Or I don't remember. Your kid's not gonna be like, yeah, you fucking said you're this. The kids aren't going to want to hurt your feelings. So be thinking about the questions you're asking. Is it setting your kid up for failure because they can't win? Because they're going to have to be mean to you to tell you the truth. Okay. Yeah, we could talk about this again. There's so much to unravel. Like this is a general thing. We could talk about if there's so much negativity about you on more conversations to have with your kids and age appropriate. So if you want more about this, like Jess does, let us know. We can dive deep, real into this because this is a popular thing that's happening that I was blind to. First 8 years, I had no idea. Daughter called me a cunt. I'm like, well, that was weird. Like I didn't even like put it together that he was forcing her to do that till it was too late. So again, because I don't expect that. I don't expect people to be animals, but they are. Okay. We are all animals. It just depends on what kind. So we will be back, you guys, next week. We have a lot of things happening. So if you are thinking about, man, have I got all the trainings I need? I'm telling you right now, things are transitioning. Things are happening with this group that it's going to blow your mind. So please be sticking around a little bit longer. And we will look forward to sending out an email. It'll have the replay. It'll have notes. It'll have everything for you. So make sure you're checking your inbox for those emails because some of you are better at visual learning than auditory. So make sure you get those. Okay. All right, you guys, we'll see you next week. Take care of yourselves.